And here to start us off with an invocation, I know we have Benny Anderson from New Hope Baptist Church. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the honor and the privilege. Let us pray. Eternal God, we thank you for being God all by yourself. God, we come before you now, and I thank you for the privilege and honor to pray over our city. Lord, I lift up our distinguished mayor. I lift up the members of this council. Lord, I pray for those who protect our city. Lord, I pray for those who respond to our accidents and our times of emergencies. Lord, I thank you for those who are standing in the gap and fighting a disease that we cannot see. God, I pray now that you would, as Paul prayed for Ephesus, I pray now that you would give us a spirit of understanding and wisdom, that we would understand the immeasurable greatness of your power, the power to heal the land, heal our land, God. We pray now that we understand that you also have the power to bring us together, to bring unity in our city, to issue in a peace that surpasses all understanding. God, we bow the knee to thee, and we cover our heart and we bow our head as we pledge allegiance to our flag, one nation under God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. Would you join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We're going to start our meeting off today with 3 different proclamations. And if you're here today for the Dyslexia Awareness Month, I think we have Puff Nigos here on behalf of the Wtamu Center for Learning Disabilities. There's Puff right there. Puff, do you have anything you want to say about this before we read this proclamation?
Well, I just would like to just bring awareness and thank you to the council for recognizing this as something that is a part of our everyday lives. It does affect about 1 in 5, and it has nothing to do with intelligence. These children and these adults who have to deal with dyslexia are just as intelligent as anybody else, and it's just that they think a little bit differently, and it is a neurological difference, and often they have characteristics that those of us who are not dyslexic don't have, like thinking in 3D and having visual spatial acuity. So I just want to thank you, and I would like to recognize a couple of folks who are here, if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
We have Tammy Jackson here, and we also have Tammy Jackson is our community liaison with the Wtamu Center for Learning Disabilities, and also Dr. Mik-Young Shin, who is a professor of special ed at West Texas A&M. So I appreciate them being here and supporting all of our efforts to bring awareness to dyslexia. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate y'all being here. Most of all, we appreciate the work you do in our city on this issue. Thank you. Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Frida Powell is going to read our proclamation for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas dyslexia is one of the most common learning disabilities affecting Texans, and whereas this lifelong disorder can be a deterrent to a child's education or an adult's professional development by inhibiting interpretation of spoken and written language, and whereas with a proper diagnosis, individuals can be taught appropriate, systematic, and structured methods of learning that enable them to excel in their school and work environments, and whereas it is vital to communicate the importance of an early diagnosis, thereby providing assistance and guidance to those affected by dyslexia. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council members of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Dyslexia Awareness Month to further raise awareness of this learning disability and encourage our citizens to learn more about dyslexia. We also recognize the dedication and understanding of family members, teachers, and other professionals who play a role in the success of these individuals. Given under our hand and seal of office this 12th day of October 2021, the Honorable Mayor Ginger Nelson, Council Members Cole Stanley, Frida Powell, Dr. Eddie Sauer, and Howard Smith.
Thank you. Council, if we could kind of just break through here, step in, because I'd like to take a picture with the doctor and Taylor, if y'all don't mind joining us up here.
You're good. You got a camera here.
Our next proclamation today is National Chiropractic Health Month, and we have here today Dr. John Blackwell. Dr. Blackwell, yes, thank you. Anything you'd like to say on the front end before we read your proclamation?
Yes, just first of all, I'm Dr. John Blackwell. I'm a chiropractor here in Amarillo. Have been for 21 years. I want to thank Mayor Nelson and the council for recognizing this month as a National Chiropractic Health Month. I represent our state association for our District 2, which represents the city of Amarillo, but all the Texas Panhandle to our state. And throughout the state, and throughout the nation, there are numbers of cities as well as states that are recognizing this as National Health Month, Chiropractic Health Month. Governor Abbott actually wrote the state proclamation last week. So we feel like we play a vital role as part of the team of doctors that support this city and help our citizens each day to be able to live and function to the level that their God created them. So that's what we're here to do, and we thank you all so much for that. So.
Absolutely. Well, let's read this proclamation then. Whereas doctors of chiropractic are physician-level healthcare providers who focus on the whole person as a part of their hands-on, non-drug approach to pain management and health promotion, and who have special expertise in the prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation of musculoskeletal conditions that may inhibit movement and physical activity, whereas there's been a general increase in the prevalence of sedentary lifestyles over the years. He might be talking to some of us, due to advances in technology and transportation, and further exacerbated over the past year by the COVID-19 pandemic and the increase in remote work, leading to an increase in musculoskeletal conditions such as low back pain and joint pain. Whereas in addition to expertise in spinal manipulation, chiropractors are trained to recommend therapeutic and rehabilitative exercises and to provide nutritional, dietary, and lifestyle advice to help people enhance their physical fitness and overall wellness. Whereas chiropractors who've been listed as part of the essential healthcare workforce by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security are also trained to diagnose conditions and to refer patients to other health care providers and specialties when necessary. Whereas National Chiropractic Health Month 2021 serves as a reminder to all citizens that doctors of chiropractic can be key partners in helping them to keep moving by treating pain and improving function with non-invasive, non-drug approaches that are safe and effective. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and the City Council members of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2021 as National Chiropractic Health Month and in Amarillo, and officially we join with the American Chiropractic Association as it promotes the physical and mental health benefits of physical activity with its Keep Moving campaign, given under our hands and seal of office this 26th day of October 2021, the Mayor and the City Council. So thank you so much, Doctor. Do you mind if we step out here and take a picture with you?
Would you mind getting one?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
He was a lot better one direction.
Thank you so much.
Hey, will you hand me the sticky off of that, pretty please?
I sure will.
Thanks. Life gets run by Post-it notes, right? Right. And then our last proclamation is National Family Caregivers Month. So important. And we have with us today Jamie Sharp. Jamie, come on up. She's a caregiver specialist for the Area Agency on Aging of the Panhandle. Y'all, everybody who's here with us, we're happy to have you come on up and be a part of this. Jamie?
Yes, ma'am. I want to thank y'all for having us today and getting the proclamation ready for us. We have a caregiver conference coming up next Friday, so hopefully we'll be able to have the proclamation read if possible. But with me I have Catherine English. She's our operations coordinator. I have Sunday Rossi, who's our director at the Area Agency on Aging. And I have Melissa Ty Whitaker, who's our managing ombudsman who advocates for residents in the facilities. But National Family Caregivers Month is usually celebrated every November. It gives us a chance to recognize and honor family caregivers throughout the country. Usually family caregivers are a majority of the caregivers over professionals, and it's a 24-hour job. It's grueling, and so we like to raise awareness and educate our community. And we also, through the Area Agency on Aging, have a respite program where we're able to provide caregivers with a break. So look us up on Facebook, Area Agency of the Panhandle.
Thank you, ladies, for all the work that you do. Councilmember Cole Stanley's going to read our proclamation. Then we'll take a picture if y'all are willing to do that at the end.
Yeah, thank you, ladies. So proclaimed by the City of Amarillo, whereas the first rule of taking care of others is take care of yourself first. Caregiving can be a rewarding experience, but it is also physically and emotionally demanding. The stress of dealing with caregiving responsibilities leads to a higher risk of health issues among the nation's 90 million family caregivers. And whereas nutritious eating helps promote good health, maintaining a healthy diet is one of the most powerful things caregivers can do to take care of themselves and others. Whereas poor nutrition is a problem for many older adults. Up to half of the older adults are at risk for malnutrition. Many times the risk goes undetected, leading to loss of muscular strength, longer hospital stays, and increased readmissions. Recognizing nutrition as a vital sign of older health and including malnutrition screening and healthcare quality initiatives can help improve recovery from illness and hospitalization, which benefits everyone in the family. And whereas the recognition of families as valued caregivers is growing every year in our country, it is even more important to encourage them to take care of themselves and their own nutrition as well as the nutrition of their loved ones, so they can continue to give their heartfelt care on which their loved ones depend. And whereas family caregivers have the best interest of their loved ones at heart, a family caregiver must remember to pay attention to their own physical and mental wellness. Only by taking care of yourself can you be strong enough to take care of your loved one. You really do need to take care to give care. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council members of the City of Amarillo, do hereby recognize November 2021 as National Family Caregivers Month. Given under our hands the seal of office, your Mayor and City Council.
Thank you. Thank you all. Come on up, ladies. Cole, you'll learn. Frida has a band.
She got it. She got it.
They are loyal.
Hey, thank you.
I'll get it.
Thank you. One with you.
Yeah.
Okay, moving into the next portion of our agenda is the public address. So I'll hand it over to the moderator at this time.
Good afternoon, and thank you for participating in today's City Council meeting. Your input and your opinions are important to us, and we're glad you're here to share them. At each posted meeting, we invite our fellow community members to address the council regarding posted agenda items. Every speaker has 3 minutes to address the council. At the end of 2.5 minutes, a warning beep will sound to alert you that you have 30 seconds to wrap up your thoughts. We ask that you stay within the 3 minutes allotted. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to items on the posted agenda. Doing so helps the City Council ensure we are following the Open Meetings Act and are able to have an effective meeting for all. When you come to the microphone, please state your name, whether or not you live within the Amarillo city limits. Again, thank you for being here today to share your thoughts with the City Council. First up, we have Amber Richardson speaking on item 1D, followed by Ryan Brightbill.
You can bring that little citizen up here with you. He's pretty cute.
So I've never been to a city council meeting before, so this is kind of out of my comfort zone, but I am here to address my concerns about the homelessness and the COVID vaccine mandates in businesses. Now, there are approximately 495 people that are homeless here. Now that there are COVID-19 vaccine mandates in businesses like our healthcare, Pantex, Tyson, and others, and the deadlines are fast approaching for people to be let go for refusing to be vaccinated, my concern is Amarillo ready for more poverty, homelessness, and residents leaving the area so they can provide for their families? I'm also concerned that the amount of panhandlers will increase because these people will not be able to find another job here due to being overqualified. I am also not only concerned for these residents, but for my family as well. Our community needs to come together for these residents to stand with them on their choice. The mayor boasts about the economy here, but our economy won't be so great 6 months from now. These residents will not have any money to spend here because they will be unemployed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Next up, we have Ryan Brightbill.
He escaped.
Followed by Tyler Pinson.
First, I wanted to say happy birthday to the mayor. I saw that on Facebook.
Thank you, Ryan.
But I wanted to let the council know, as well as the mayor, and I'm appreciative of Amber, and we have some people from Bell Helicopter here too to discuss the vaccine mandates. But to get into my comments, I will say that I've been in contact with the governor's office, the lieutenant governor's office, Senator Seliger's office, Representative for Price's office, Representative Smithy's office, as well as our U.S. senators and Representative Jackson's office. I'm here today to speak on the same matter that Amber just spoke on. I'm very concerned about our community and what these vaccine mandates are going to have on our community economic-wise, and the possibility of poverty leading to that, especially out at Tyson and some other not so well-paid entities. I'm concerned about Pantex. I'm concerned about Bell. I'm concerned about Tyson. I'm concerned about JBS, Cavanis, the VA hospital, TSA, the Department of Agriculture, the USDA, and other entities. We hear all of these stories in the news media about even healthcare workers. You just read off proclamations for chiropractors as well as healthcare workers as well. I'm very concerned, and I appreciate Councilor Stanley. I know he has advocated on behalf of, not as a councilor, but as a concerned citizen in the city of Amarillo. I know that he's been in contact out of concern out at Pantex. I know he's been in contact with people out at Bell Helicopter. He is very, very concerned as a concerned citizen, not as a counselor, because of the possibility for devastation to the economy here in this area within the federal workers, the federal contractors, and then the other businesses as well. That are going to be adversely impacted, and the possibility of that leading to homelessness or poverty or whatever the case may be. When someone loses the ability to support their livelihood, that is a serious blow to someone. And as a Christian, and I know there's a conversation about separation between church and state, I just wanted to implant this into your mind as a Christian yourself too. Jesus gives us the free will to choose him, to choose to accept him, and this vaccine is not the most critical decision in your life as a Christian. You do have free will to choose him or to not to choose him, and so we aren't mandating that decision because of freedom of religion. Why are we mandating these vaccines? I don't think that it's compassionate, and I don't think that it helps people out be able to support their livelihoods, be able to support their homes, rent, mortgage, utilities, whatever the case may be. Thank you so much, and happy birthday again.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Tyler Pinson.
Hello, Tyler Pinson, Amarillo, Texas. I just want to really, talk about all this going on with the homelessness. When I grew up as a kid, maybe you had the few corners on the highways that you see homeless. It has gotten extremely worse in the last 5, 10, 15 years of my life. When the government, when the cities start to mandate who is essential and who is not, I know we all saw a rise in this. And now we're getting ready to see another blow in our economy. Amarillo, I feel like, has kind of always been a little open, but we were strict at first. Let's be free. This is a free country. Let us stand for our freedoms. Let us stand for our rights, for religion. And here we are. We're going through a vaccine mandate with a lot of these big businesses. They have not told us what the repercussions will be. They just said you have till December 8th to be fully vaccinated. It is going to make a big impact on this city. You're talking about people that work at Bell Helicopter, Textron, Tyson, making $50,000 to $100,000 a year. You take that income away from these people, they won't be able to support their families. They won't be able to pay their mortgage. They won't be able to pay their taxes. So it's going to be very, very difficult. So I feel as a city, we need to bring to light sorry, I'm nervous. We need to bring to light and address this head on and maybe speak out about it and say, look, we can't do this. Our economy is crushed. People's lives have been ruined. People are living on the streets because of this. And here we are, we're about to watch our so-called federal government do this to all of us. We have to, as a city, make a stand and speak out against this. And I'll end on that. On the record, let's go, Brandon.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments today.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the agenda item 1A, where we review our agenda for any questions or information that you need right up front. City Council, anybody have something? No? Okay,
No,
let's
Mayor.
move on to item 1B, which is discussing the Texas Police Chiefs Association Foundation re-recognition of the Amarillo Police Department's accreditation. We have Acting City Manager Floyd Hartman here with us today as Jared's out of town.
So, Mayor, we have Chief Birkenfeld and his team here to present this item.
Chief.
Please, Chief. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Max Westbrook from the Texas Police Chiefs Association Foundation has come to Amarillo today to give a short presentation, so I'll turn it over to Max.
Thank you, Chief. Welcome, Max.
I just jumped in there. Sorry.
No, it's
apologize
good.
for that.
It's
We didn't
all right.
coordinate very well, did we? Whose birthday is it, Mayor? Yours? Happy
Well,
birthday.
I heard a rumor that might
Hey,
be
that-
true.
happy
yes.
birthday. That's
Thank you.
wonderful.
If there's cake involved, it's definitely true.
Understood. Honorable Mayor, council members, members of the Amarillo community, good afternoon. My name is Max Westbrook. I'm retired from the Austin Police Department, but please don't hold that against me. For the last 7 years, I've been the director of the Texas Police Chiefs Association. I'm very proud of that. The TPCA is made up of over 1,500 professional police chiefs throughout the state who are dedicated to improving the delivery of quality police services. I'm here this afternoon to present the Amarillo Police Department with a certificate of re-recognition for continuing to maintain their compliance with Texas law enforcement's best practices program. Several years ago, the Texas Police Chiefs Association developed an accreditation program for law enforcement in the state of Texas. Many of you know about accreditation programs for schools, universities, and hospitals. They are all programs of professional excellence and all require proof of compliance with a set of difficult standards. Ours is similar. It is a voluntary program where agencies must prove they meet or exceed 170 difficult standards. The standards are based on Texas law, Texas court cases, and contemporary best practices as identified by the TPCA. These standards address the full range of law enforcement operations, such as use of force, protection of citizens' rights, vehicle pursuits, property and evidence management, patrol investigations, just to name a few. This program has become the new gold standard for professional law enforcement in Texas, and agencies across the state are working diligently to meet these requirements. Approximately 12 years ago, the Amarillo Police Department first attained their recognized status with the TPCA, and it was not easy to do. The agency had to conduct a complete audit of its policies, procedures, and operations in order to meet these standards. Since that time, the agency has submitted annual reports which were reviewed to ensure continued compliance with the TPCA standards. In September of this year, trained assessors, police chiefs, and command officers from other parts of the state spent 2 days conducting another on-site assessment of the Amarillo Police Department. These assessors interviewed staff, inspected facilities and operations, met with field officers, and ensured compliance with all of the standards. Their report was then sent to the Recognition Committee, comprised of 9 active police chiefs around the state who reviewed the report and voted to award re-recognized status. I should point out that that vote was unanimous. During this process, the Amarillo Police Department has once again proven that it meets or exceeds best practices for professional law enforcement in the state of Texas. This is my favorite part about this. There are 2,700 law enforcement agencies in the state of Texas, and only 184 of them have achieved recognized status, and fewer than that have achieved re-recognized status. That's huge. This afternoon, we officially recognize Amarillo Police Department for their outstanding performance. And what does this mean for your community? The recognition program assures both city management and the citizens of Amarillo that their police department is operating in a manner that reflects the current best practices for law enforcement in the state of Texas. It means your police department is continually striving for professional excellence. It means your police department is one of the very best in the state of Texas. The certificate we present this afternoon is symbolic. While it is clearly the mark of professional excellence, the real value of the program is the process they must complete to receive the certificate. And once again, this is not the end of the process. We'll be back in 4 years to conduct another on-site assessment. The Amarillo Police Department is a leader in law enforcement in the state of Texas, and we should be very proud of this accomplishment. Chief Birkenfeld, please come forward. The Texas Police Chiefs Association Foundation. To all those who see this certificate, know that the Amarillo Police Department, having fulfilled the necessary qualifications and mandatory requirements of the TPCA, Texas Law Enforcement Best Practices Recognition Program, by voluntarily proving their compliance with the Texas Law Enforcement Best Practices Program, the Texas Police Chiefs Association Foundation Board of Directors does hereby award this certificate of recognition. Congratulations, Chief.
Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate this very much, but this doesn't happen without a very professional department that I came into 31 years ago, and I hope I can help maintain that standard. But I've asked you guys come up here and line up here. I've asked some of my key staff members to be here to accept this recognition because they're the ones that have done the hard work. And obviously, if I could bring all 345 police officers and 80 civilians in here, I would. But this is some of our key staff members. Assistant Chief Funtech is in charge of our Operations Bureau, and that's the day-to-day patrol and the special operations and the really tough work that gets done. I appreciate Chief Funtech's hard work on that. Assistant Chief Johnson is in a leadership training this week, so he wasn't able to be here. He has the staff services and investigations. Jack Hildebrand is our compliance coordinator, and that's a huge task. Jack is responsible for keeping us all on track and doing our day-to-day policy changes, making sure those meet the best practices standards, and he does an excellent job on that. We wouldn't be here today without Jack's hard work. By the way, Jack's a retired U.S. Marshal Chief, so he's very experienced in law enforcement and does a great job for us. Tammy Peavy, I can't say enough about Tammy. She is an essential member of our team. She's been there over 20 years working hard on our records management. She is our records manager. If Tammy was to shut down operations, we would all have to stop and get some crayons out and some Big Chief tablets and and figure out how to do our work. So, Tammy, thank you for all the hard work. A big chunk of compliance falls on your shoulders, and we appreciate that. Captain Bohannon is our captain over our criminal investigation division. A lot of things changed over the last 4 years in criminal investigations, and I appreciate you keeping us in compliance. Captain Brown is in charge of our specialized operations division, all of the super secret and tactical stuff. As you know from previous experience, Captain Brown is the pinnacle of excellence in our organization and does a great job for us, and I appreciate that. Captain Loftus is in charge of our training and personnel division, which is a very key part of our organization. It keeps our compliance with the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement standards, as well as our best practices program. So I appreciate that. Captain Sanchez couldn't be here. He's also in some leadership training right now. So that's kind of our team. So, Mayor, with your permission, I'd like to applaud these members of our staff for the great work that they do.
Absolutely. While we have you here with your certificate, we definitely would like to stop for a minute and take a picture because this work is, yes, being recognized in the moment, and we want to capture that. But what we know is that it represents day in and day out what you guys do for us, and you do it around the clock, weekends, holidays, midnights. You never stop. So we love a chance to say how grateful we are for the service that you give to our community, and on behalf of the citizens, we want to say just that. Thank you. It's impossible to stand in front of you and see your badges banded and not just say, I've had so many citizens say that they are thinking about the department and the 2 losses that you've had, and we hate COVID, but we love the people that it affects, and it has affected your family as a department, and that means it's weighing heavy on us too. So those families in particular, we're praying for them, and just know that we have your back on that front while y'all go through this season of grief and mourning. So we are proud of you, and we would very much so like to celebrate that by taking a picture right now.
Thank you.
How about we break through right here? You got it? I did. Okay. Of course, she's on the ball. She got it.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate you.
I love it. I love it when our staff comes and shows us how across the state they're being recognized for the excellent work that they're doing, and that item is definitely an important one. Next up is item 1C, which is a discussion on the tax increment reinvestment zone number 1 extension.
Thank you, Mayor.
Floyd.
We have Assistant City Manager Andrew Freeman here to present this item.
Good afternoon. This is a older item that we're bringing back around. This was discussed back in 2019. There we go. Just a little background. So the discussion item is whether or not to extend the zone. State law does allow for the taxing entity that creates a tax increment reinvestment zone the opportunity to change the boundary or change the terms. This discussion would be about changing the term from 2036 to a longer period. A little background, it was initially created in 2006. It's currently set to expire in 2036. All taxing entities do participate in the zone at 100% of their tax rate. So it has the city tax rate, Potter County, the Water District, and Amarillo College that all make up the tax rate that contributes to the zone. In 2006, the base value was $139 million. And we've seen the increase of 80% up to 2020 with a new value of 251. So we know the zone has worked. It's adding value and increasing investment in the downtown area. It's averaged an increase of almost 4.5% since the beginning. And then I just wanted to remind the council of the goals of Center City Tiers number 1, which is investment in hotels, urban residential, office, commercial, and retail, and then the ballpark and family entertainment venues. This is a recent update that Emily Kohler gave to the Tiers board in July, just showing how we're doing as far as progressing to the original goals in the Downtown Strategic Action Plan. You can see that investment in hotel is doing really well. Hotel rooms is about 37%. We're seeing investment in the office commercial sector of 56% of the goal. Retail is a little bit lower as far as 28%, office 17%. And then where you really see the low numbers that we still have to continue working on is urban residential. Units is at 13% and investment is at 16%. So that just goes to show that we've made a lot of progress as far as adding value to the downtown, but we're still trying to meet some of these goals long term. So the Tiers board, a couple of years ago and then most recently at their last meeting, has continued the discussion of the benefits of extending the zone and recommending to council to consider taking action to do so. What they focused on is increasing the zone for another 20 years, so taking it till 2056 at 50% of the tax rate. So the benefit there is when you create these zones, the goal is to increase the value, and then at the end of the term, the taxing entities get to reap the benefit of all that increased tax base for their budgets and continue to invest in the community and their goals and objectives. What this would do is continue to take a share of that taxing rate, but only at 50% of each taxing entity's rate. So each entity would collect half, and then half would go into the zone. As far as process, the procedure to expand the boundary is really the same as it is to create the zone. It's via ordinance and a public hearing process. Other entities are not required to continue to participate. They can do, if they would like to, they would enter into another participation agreement, and they can also be at different rates than the city. What we would be proposing and working with each entity to do would be to all match the 50% rate, similar to now where we all match the 100% rate. Some examples of other tier zones across the state, they range from anywhere from 5 to 50 years. It really depends on the goals of the city, what's left to accomplish, and so forth. As far as, very hard to read slide here, but this covers 2006 through 2036, just to show you the projected growth from 2021 to 2036. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the annual revenue at the current tax rate in 2020 shows the zone ending at approximately $3 million a year annual revenue. And then the right 4 columns are each city, county, Amarillo College, and water districts rates and what their revenue share is that they contribute to the zone, just to show the breakdown based on participation. And then our last slide gives you an idea of if each entity decided to contribute the 50%, and we went down this path, the column is updated to show 2037 starting off fresh with a new tax rate and really starting a clean slate as far as taxing or developer agreements, because most of our developer agreements are set to expire with the zone. So that opens up capacity for either debt funding projects based on this revenue and just having no restrictions as far as incentive agreements in place. Shows that it'd be 1.6 annually, working its way back up to the $3 million, an overall benefit of $46 million over that additional 20 years. But on the right side, that is what each entity would get to receive each year going forward. So, for example, in 2037, starting fresh, the city would realize an extra $483,000 starting that year that would no longer go to the zone. The county would get $841,000, Amarillo College $277,000, and then the water district $12,000. And of course, these are based on current rates. We don't know what those will look like 15 years from now, but just based on current rates, you can see that they would be able to see that benefit of the 30 years worth of growth, while still keeping with the commitment of improving the downtown area overall and continue to strive to meet all the goals in the plan. Really, we've seen a lot of improvements over the last 15 years, but we know it's a very large zone with a lot of needs still to be met, and the benefit of keeping the zone in place would continue to work toward meeting those goals. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or really to seek your feedback if we want to start this process of bringing back an ordinance and moving forward with extending the years at 20 years at 50% rate or other suggestions.
Questions? So we're halfway through, and I think it's fascinating. Like, I really would love to see this chart, the progress summary chart, if it had another column in front of that current column that said from the beginning. So like we could see where we've come from 2006 to where we currently are to where the goal is on all of these projects.
Sure.
And what I love about it is this is it. This is our long walk in the same direction. None of us were here. Floyd was here. But other than that, none of us were here in 2006. When we started, we said, hey, other cities are doing these tiers, increment, reinvestment zones. And we, people back then said that downtown was important because so a downtown goes, so goes a city. And we've seen that. Look at the story of Detroit or other places. If you let your downtown go, your city goes. And those leaders back then knew that. That was 15 years ago. And look, they set the goals. I would like to be able to see what they started with and how far their vision and their leadership commitment has carried us to where we are today. I would really love to see that added to that part of it. But as far as what you have in mind, it's really helpful to see essentially the can't remember the word. Sorry. The chart at the end that just shows us how it's going to play out.
Projections.
Yeah, the projections. Thank you.
I think overall the main benefit is we do a lot of the developer agreements for these large projects like the Excel building or the FISC or some of those. They're 20 to 30-year agreements. Now we're trickling down. We'll only have like 10 years to offer. This will give the opportunity for some of those other large buildings like the Herring, the Rules, some of these that we know they're going to need assistance. That window's closing as far as benefits to help really move those projects forward.
And I think that's a key part of the puzzle. People are like, well, you still got 15 years left on it. Yes, but if we're negotiating a deal with a building owner who's making a 20 or 30-year investment, we need longer.
Right.
So that's important, I think, for people to understand. Any hesitations, concerns, steer it left, steer it right? Now's the time to give them that.
No, I'm good with staff moving forward to pursue an ordinance to extend the tax increment reinvestment zone number 1. So I don't have any other questions or concerns.
Okay. Councilmember Stanley, anything you want to direct or guide Andrew on? Okay. And I saw...
And I did have a preliminary conversation with the college and the county, and they were pretty on board with that amount, just talking to the leadership, but it hadn't gone in front of the boards. So we'll continue through that process after council starts that process.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate your work on that very much. Item 1D is an update on the point-in-time count.
Thank you, Mayor. We have Community Development Director Jason Riddlesberger for this item.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. How are y'all?
Good, thank you.
I'm so glad to be here. Are you going to forward it for me? Thank you so much. So we do our point-in-time count. We're in Amarillo. We're doing it twice a year now. We have to do it at least once a year, typically in the winter. But we're going to talk a little bit about our summer point-in-time count. We did it July 16, 2021. So what is the point-in-time count? It is a snapshot of the Amarillo homeless in a 24-hour period. We typically do that from, say, 8 a.m. And then all the way through the night to the next morning for that 24-hour snapshot. We're looking for both our sheltered and our unsheltered. Most of our teams that go out and do the volunteering, they're doing our unsheltered count. But we also get our numbers from all of our shelters. So HUD requires that count every January, so we do participate in that. But our Amarillo, we do that second one because we think it's important to kind of get an idea of what it looks like in both the winter and the summer. And again, there's what I was talking about there with us conducting that second count in the summer. This was the second one that we've done. We did not do one last year due to COVID, so this is our second summer count. So what do we do with the data for HUD? We report this information so that Congress will know the number of people experiencing homelessness in our city, what's the effectiveness of our programs and policies that we're running, and of course the funding to support the Amarillo Continuum of Care. I am here as a representative of the Continuum of Care. There's a lot of agencies that work together in our community in that Continuum of Care to make sure that we do this point-in-time count. And I'll show you later how many of those people volunteered and teams that we put together.
Jason, can you pause for just a second?
Sure.
Somebody who's not in this all the time might not know what the Amarillo Continuum of Care is.
So the Amarillo Continuum of Care is it is all of the service agencies in the Amarillo area that service the homeless population. So we've got Downtown Women's Center, we've got Another Chance House, Salvation Army, Faith City, Amarillo ISD participates. We've got legal aid that participates. So we've got folks that just, in fact, it doesn't even have to be an agency. We've got a lot of concerned citizens and people that just care about the homeless issues, and we invite them to be at this meeting. In fact, I'll just throw out a plug there that our next open Continuum of Care meeting is November 16th. It's Friday at 10:30 a.m. and it will be at Patsy's Place. You can Google that, but anybody is welcome to come to that meeting, and we'll be happy to have you there.
Thank you.
Thank you. So how did we do this count? We use two. You can go ahead and hit both of those. We use a Counting Us mobile app. This is about the third count that we've used this mobile app, and I'll tell you from prior to that, we used to do hand to paper, and it was much more difficult to do that. We have to do an interview with our clients that we talk to. This app is very user-friendly, very easy for us to use, and it helps us make sure that data is very clean. And same thing with our homeless management information system. That's something where we collect all of the data that our homeless population throughout Amarillo. We will collect that data in all of the agencies that work with those clients. So Salvation Army uses it. Guyon Saunders Resource Center uses it. So we put that information in there so we can kind of keep track of what's going on, what services they're using. This helps us whenever we're doing our point-in-time count so that we clean that data up so that we know for sure that John Smith, date of birth, such and such, is the same person, and we're not double counting that person. So here's our total for our 2021 summer point-in-time count. We had a total of 499. I'm pointing out specifically here, I'll see that we counted our sheltered. Those are the Faith City Mission, Salvation Army, all of those places listed there. 183 were sheltered. The concerning number that I'm always looking at is that unsheltered number. That's where we come up with the 316. Those are the folks living in the streets, the tents, the cars, places not meant for habitation. And so those are my concerns. Those are something that I'm keeping an eye on, is that unsheltered count. So that's the number that we're going to constantly be looking at, trying to bring that number down. I gave you a little bit more information on some of the things that we collected inside of those numbers, just so you'd have a little bit of information about the number of adults, the number of children under age 18. You'll see that one of the things I want you to look at on the young children under 18, you'll see the unsheltered is a 0. I know that our community is very, very quick to recognize and see if we have any children that are in any kind of an unsheltered situation. We get on that quick. Everybody works together to find a solution to get that remedied ASAP. So you're going to see that we're going to have some in some of our sheltering environments, but you're going to rarely see anything that's unsheltered because we're going to get on that real quick. Again, back on that one still, you see that our numbers are still much higher for our men than the women. We still have some chronically homeless and some veterans. Those are two areas that we target pretty heavily whenever we're trying to put them into some of our programs like the Coming Home program and other resources. Okay. So a little bit of a comparison between our winter and our summer count. You can see that the numbers are relatively the same. You know, something we wanted to do we wanted to start doing our summer count was because a lot of folks thought, why are we counting them in the winter? We believe that there's going to be a lot more folks out there in the summer, especially unsheltered. I think that this kind of shows us that actually our numbers are relatively close for both the winter and the summer.
Does that surprise you?
It does a little bit. I think especially because I know from my department how many of our homeless people that we are actually housing. We're getting a lot of folks into housing. We have emergency housing vouchers that we've been getting them housed. So that makes me think that the numbers are growing. But I also think that has something to do with the summer, that maybe we're just seeing some fluctuations. I'm a lot like you, and I like to see lots of data. I want to see years worth of data. I want to see lots of trends, not just a small 2-year snapshot. I want to see longer trends. So we're on our way to doing that. We do really good counts in this community. I'm here to tell you we do a great job of the data that we collect. I feel really good about the data that we collect, the number of volunteers that we have to help us do this count. So I know this is a little bit small here, but this is a kind of a broad view of where we've been from winter of 2019 on that left column. You can see we started out with a total of 774, that top blue line. We're working our way down here. We've got ourselves from all the way from 774, working our way down here to around the 500 mark. Still way too high. Still way too high. Nationally and through Texas, this is still entirely too many. We're still above those averages for both the state and the nation. So we're still working on it. The number that concerns me there, you're going to look at the gray line. That is our unsheltered count. You can see that it's flip-flopped there in the winter of last year, that we went from 403 to 197, where we had sheltered versus unsheltered. Now our unsheltered has become more prevalent than our sheltered. So that is something, again, that I am very much concentrating on getting programs in place in order for us to get those unsheltered into a shelter. So I always want to point out our great volunteers. We had 85 volunteers, and this is right in the middle of the summer when Delta was hitting us, and we got 85 volunteers, 41 teams. Mayor was out there. It was hot that day, and we were out there just doing a great job, and I'm so proud. I can't thank the volunteers enough of the time that they put in this. And I'll be honest with you, I'm selfish because it's very rewarding, and I know I speak for you too. It's something that it's one chance for us to get out there and remind ourselves why we're doing this, and I take this as a great opportunity to do that. So that's the last slide on there. If y'all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any of them.
Questions?
I guess the only question that I'd have was, whenever you look at that 2020 and you see it flip, is there any component of that where we lost housing, or is that just purely people quit going to housing?
It's not necessarily housing. I would say it's shelter. The change has been in the shelter. So I don't like to point any fingers. Every agency that does their programs how they choose. But we had some changes in some of the agencies that provide our emergency shelter, and some of the rules and things like that changed. And quite frankly, those numbers changed significantly. The number of people that were sheltered a year before to last year.
Okay. So there is some reasoning behind why there's an action and a following reaction to something that occurred.
That is correct.
Okay.
And so that's why I'm coming up with some solutions, and I'll be happy to come up with those at a later time and show you and share with you guys what I'm doing.
Well, thanks for working on that. I appreciate that.
So just other questions from this side? I have questions, but I'll let you guys go first.
Thank you. So from the 774 and the drop, do you have anything that you would more or less point to as a credit on how we've achieved that?
Absolutely. So that was about the time that we implemented our Coming Home program, and it has been an absolute amazing success. The Coming Home program is a housing first model where we take our most chronically homeless folks that are on the streets, that have been on the streets and for years. We take those folks and we get them into housing just like a basic right, food and water. We believe housing is the same basic right. We get them into housing, and then my staff of about 10 to 12 folks surround them with support services. That's getting them connected with a primary care physician, getting them mental health services if they need it. It could be addiction services if they need it. We make sure that they know how to find food. We make sure that they know how they can get their GED. Documents. They lose their documents, and once they lose a driver's license and a Social Security card and that birth certificate, it's hard to get things back on track. So we help them manage to get those things back. So that's what's been there. I'll tell you that our program is enjoying about an 85, closer to a 90% success rate in the Coming Home program. And speaking about all kinds of programs that help the homeless, Usually you're talking about a 20 to 30% success rate, and that's considered good. We're up in the 90%. I think that's outstanding. So that is I believe that is the change in those numbers in significance.
So could we infer that we've got 250 less homeless individuals that are in the coming home program that are success, and roughly 25 of them would have fallen out on average?
That's about average.
That's phenomenal.
Yes, sir.
Any new law changes coming up that we should know about, things that would change the way law enforcement has to work, policing, that would impact maybe the number, the consequences of kind of what we're dealing with already?
So actually, it's September 1st, there was a new law that went into to action. It's basically specifically reciting what the law is. It's you cannot camp on public property, and that means anything from laying your head down with your jacket behind your head, laying out a bedroll. You can't do that on public property, sidewalks, park benches, things like that. It's actually a Class C misdemeanor. The good thing about our community is that that's not something that our police department or our city is, in a big hurry to go out there and enforce these things and tickets and jail. That's not solving the problem. We're in the business of trying to solve these problems. We're trying to figure out what can we do on the front end of that. What options do they have? So our outreach team, we have an outreach team with the Coming Home team. We send them out there to go engage with our clients. We've got a really cool article that's going to come out in our new newsletter. I recommend you reading that. I have an employee named Michael Johnson who was previously homeless, and he is amazing. He goes out and engages with these folks, tells them what kind of resources we have in the city, where can they go, what can you do. Then we will pass that off. If it's something where police department has to get involved, we'll let them take care of that end. But again, they're not out there trying to put people in jail. They're just out there to say, hey, look, we need you to do this. If you're trespassing, you can't trespass. We just need you to be somewhere that you can be. We do have the Salvation Army. We do have Faith City. So we do have options.
Thank you for that. Last question. Amarillo is a very generous community, and we're right on the I-40 corridor. Do you track what we would call transit, like people that are here for a short time, but they're not necessarily homeless in Amarillo? And how many of those people choose to stay here versus continuing on? And what information is available as it pertains to that item on, say, I-40 alone?
Sure. I'll just earlier I was mentioning the HMIS, or the Homeless Management Information System. Great tool for us to be able to track our own information. That's been the key so far, is it's been our information. It's only in our silo. Recently, we have agreements with most every other entity within Texas so that we can share that data. So we'll know, has this person been living down in Houston? Has this been a person down in Austin? So we'll be able to share that information and kind of track where those folks have been. There's a push for this to be something that we share this nationwide. So we will know, is this someone coming from Phoenix? Where have they been? That's a way for us to kind of know, are they that transient, moving along type of person? Or is that an Amarillo person that's been here for 15 years and somehow they've fallen through the cracks for 15 years and we've got to get this resolved? Those are the ones I want to solve very quickly. Those are our people. I want to get that resolved quickly.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Questions? And I wondered, just because I know HMIS was something maybe started around 2017, I wondered if that was part of what you thought better tracked people and helped them not fall through the gaps.
I always think that good data, good tracking, and the Guyon Saunders Resource Center has been a very key component of that. They are what we call the coordinated entry, or that main point of entry. And they do a great job of keeping up with that in the computer system so that we kind of know who our folks are. They're seeing typically around 150 people a day. And so it's been really good. Having that tracking system is very key.
Yeah. And I know just those community partners, those private entities, nonprofits, it was a change for them. They had to learn it and staff people to data entry and all that. So I really appreciate their partnership that gives us that. Just how do we compare, Jason? Do you have that data, like what the per capita number is of people experiencing homelessness for the state of Texas, or for, what is our number and how does it compare exactly to Texas?
As far as our homeless population,
Yes.
so we are averaging about 250 per 100,000. The state average is about 93 per 100,000. The nation is, I'm thinking it's about 175 per 100,000. So we are still way too high. If you're looking at the national average, we should be about 350 instead of 500. That's just, and I want to get us down to more. I want 0 per 100,000. That's my goal, but definitely less than where we are. But the good thing is, as you saw those charts, we're headed in the right direction. We're going down. We're coming up with new ideas, and I'm excited about the future of some of these things that I want to get put in place.
Great.
And I want to invite as many people that want to come and voice your concerns and assistance and ideas to come to that continuum of care. That is for you. That is not a city-run program. That is the continuum of care for everybody. And so, again, that's November 17th, Friday at 10:30 a.m. Please come and help us. Your voice matters.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Jason, thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing. Please tell your team we said thank you.
I will. Thank y'all.
Next on the agenda is item 1E, which is an update from council members serving on boards. However, the council member who is giving those reports is under the weather today. So we're going to bump him to, hey, that's very fun. Thank you. We're going to bump him to our next meeting. He'll be happy to give us an update on those things. So that brings us to 1F, requesting future agenda items or reports. Anything from the council on that? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Anything on item number 2 that needs to come off for discussion or further questions? If there's not anything, we'll entertain a motion on item 2.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Powell, seconded by Councilmember Sauer to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes with a 4-0 vote. Item 3A is consideration of ordinance number 7938. Mr. Assistant City Manager.
Mayor, we have Anthony Spinell, the Environmental Health Director, to present this item.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This item is the second reading for an alcoholic beverage variance request for Go Brands Texas LLC, located at 3420 Southwest 15th. Go Brands has applied for an alcoholic beverage license of an off-premise consumption beer and wine. That ABL alcoholic beverage license was ultimately denied on August 16th due to the distance from AISD Amtech Career Academy, which is roughly 63 feet. Just to recap, that area is zoned general retail, which does allow for on-premise and off-premise sale of alcoholic beverage that would happen in like a restaurant or a convenience store. But it would not allow for a bar only, so a facility that just served alcoholic beverage license. The surrounding area does currently have 0 alcoholic beverage licenses within the 300-foot setback. I do want to mention, once issued an ABL, switching from on-premise to off-premise licenses is allowed. AISD was notified of the requested variance and is not in opposition of its issuance. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. We do not have a representative of Go Brands, but I do have Tom Roller back here in the back if you have any questions for him on the landlord side.
And council would call to your attention that you have an updated letter in your, it's loose, it's not in your packet regarding this, which Anthony really stated everything that's already in there. But
yes, ma'am.
Any questions for Anthony? Okay. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion with regard to this item, council?
Yes, Mayor, we do. I move to approve ordinance number 7938 and grant a variance for alcohol sales at 3420 Southwest 15th for applicant Go Brands Texas LLC pursuant to Section 109.33E of the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Code after consideration of the health, safety, and welfare of the public and the entities of the situation, council finds and determines that enforcement of the distance regulation in this particular instance would not be effective or necessary.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Councilmember Stanley to approve ordinance number 7938. Any further questions or discussion? No? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Actually, just raise hands on this one. We had a split vote last time. Any opposed? Okay, that passes with a 3-1 vote. Thank you. Item 3B is a public hearing and consideration of resolution number 102621-5. Mr. Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We have Assistant City Manager Andrew Freeman to present this item.
Next slide, please. So today is an item, we've had a few of these over the years, and traditionally we've had a little over 20 since 1990. This is the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs Housing Tax Credit Program. It's administered by the TDHCA. It directs private capital towards development and preservation of affordable rental housing for low-income households through multifamily developments. What they're able to do is use those tax credits to offset a portion of their federal tax liability in exchange for production or preservation of affordable rental housing. These can go towards new construction projects, historical rehabs. The most recent one we had was a 9% for the St. Anthony's project that's currently underway. There are the two types, the 9% competitive process and then the 4% non-competitive, which is what we have here today. Next, please. The program is designed to provide equity financing to support affordable housing, maximize the number of affordable units, add to the state's housing supply. It also is in place to ensure that the housing supply is well maintained and operated, and it also helps prevent losses in the state supply of affordable housing. As far as the city's role, the application does require a city resolution of no objection and a public hearing to be included in the developer's application for them to be considered for even the 4% process. It is a state allocation. It's not regional. It's not competitive with others in our region. And then just to give you a little background on the project, we also have Ryan Garcia here in the audience with the developer in case you have any more detailed questions, but I'll cover the basics. It is located approximately at 4000 Northwest 12th Avenue, basically southeast of the WT Enterprise Center. The project cost is approximately $34.6 million. It'll be 210 units, which would be a mixture of 1-bed, 2-bed, and 3-bed units. And the rent range would run between $739 a month to $1,017 a month. And the way these affordable units are issued by the state, it's based on area median income, and they're proposing the majority of these to be in the 60% range, which gives you an income level of, you have to have a maximum of $30,000 to $56,000 in income based on your family size. The 60% area median income for 2021 that the calculation is based on is $72,100. And then I did want to point out that some of the units may be reserved for lower income, which is 30% AMI or $15,000 to $28,000. And then the next few slides, I'll just show you an aerial of the area. The south side of this tract to the east of WT Enterprise Center is where they're considering the project. This area was recently zoned to manufactured home district, so the southern half would need to be process an application to rezone to multifamily in order to move forward with this project, so they would be going through that process. The next slide, so this is shifted, so the south side is on the left side of the screen, but this is just the preliminary layout of what they're looking for on these buildings. There are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 buildings, 11 units, or 11 buildings. They are 3 stories tall, and then there would be the community building there in the center that you can see, the smaller orange building. And then the next slide is just giving you an idea of another project that they currently have under construction, just so you can see some of the building materials they use and what it might look like, in case you had questions there. And then with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions about the process, or Ryan is also here if you have more detailed questions on the development process.
Any questions, Council?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
So I remember when this came up for a vote, and I voted against it for the very reason of the manufactured housing. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm grateful for you guys stepping in and moving this from that to multifamily. And I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm grateful for that. So.
Yeah.
I will say about half will still have that zoning. I know that might still be in their plans, the current landowners, but
this is a great start.
This is a good start,
it is.
yeah.
It is. I'm excited too, so about it.
Thank you for that comment. Brian, thank you for the work you've done on that. Any other comments?
And then we will have a public hearing.
Thank you for that reminder. I always need the reminder. At this time, we will open a public hearing on this matter. Anyone present who wishes to speak for, on, or against the matter may do so and have 3 minutes at the podium. Is there anybody here that wants to speak on this item? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item 3B.
Yes, Mayor. I may move to approve resolution number 10-26-21-5, stating no objection for an application for 2022 non-competitive housing tax credits to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs Housing Tax Credit Program by JES Development Company Incorporated, or DEV Incorporated, a private entity for the Estacado Station, a development for affordable rental property located at approximately 4000 Northwest 12th Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Dr. Sauer, to approve resolution number 10-26-21-5. Any further questions or discussion from the council? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, none. So that passes with a 4-0 vote. Item 3C is to consider awarding a contract with regard to advanced metering infrastructure, our AMI project. Mr. Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be making the presentation on this, but I do want to introduce Jonathan Gresham, the Director of Utilities, Jennifer Gonzalez, our Billing Manager, but also Dave Allen with SL Serco, the contractor that's helping us run this project. They're all available to answer questions as we go through this. So yes, this overview of the project is this is the replacement of over 70,000 existing meters with smart meters, the installation of the AMI system infrastructure and hardware, integration of the AMI software, and a digital platform. This was identified as a council objective a few years ago, and this is that customer service issue that we've looked at. On the next slide, you'll see the scope of the project. We qualified for up to a $28.5 million zero-interest loan from the Texas Water Development Board, and we want to greatly appreciate the Texas Water Development Board for this type of project. It's amazing. We estimate over interest savings over the life of this loan to be at minimum $6,800,000. So with a loan forgiveness, if you recall, of $1 million through that application process. The next slide is just a preliminary list of expected benefits to our customers. Accurate billing, obviously, is a priority out of our customer service, but easy customer feedback. It will have the ability for customers and us to track daily water use with automated communications and warnings. I will let you know the customers can set the parameters that information is gathered. It'll reduce customer contacts. It'll provide accessibility to information directly to the customer through different mechanisms, whether that's phone app, emails, or other mechanism. But it will eliminate the current system that we have that includes billing estimates. And one of the biggest factors, it removes the human error. Once you get this system up and running, human error is removed from it. It's efficient allocation of resources all around, whether that's meters, personnel, whatever that means. Efficiency comes by reallocation of all resources. But it also provides emergency response, timely emergency response, whether that's a citywide city leak or a customer problem. But it also will enhance the ability to data collect and report. So the recommendation before you is to recommend approval to Third Kettle Corporation, doing business as utility use, for the total of $27,024,744.76. Capital of a little over $22.5 million, and the annual maintenance over the life, including software upgrades and that, for the total of $27 million. Just so you know, upon approval of this, the next steps would be contract processing, which takes a little bit longer with the Texas Water Development Board involved because we have to have approval from them to access the funding. So we would anticipate the notice to proceed to be in February, kick off the software integration in March, a trial run with 1,000 meters in March, with full deployment beginning in summer next year, with the final completion and complete wrap-up with testing, verification, and everything in 2024. With that, I'll be glad to answer questions, or we have some of the team here to answer any questions that there might be.
Questions, Council?
I got a few.
Okay, go.
Water and sewer would be borrowing this amount of money. Do they have any other outstanding debts, or is everything else paid for?
This was included in previous year's budget, and with a rate increase to fund the payment. Laura could go into that. But yes, there's other outstanding debt within the water and sewer utilities. This was a separate issuance with the Texas Water Development Board. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. And just trying to speak specifically to like the metering program, like this is the total of the $27 million, all costs included. So material cost, metering cost, labor to install, correct?
Yes, that's what this is, complete installation and getting the system up and running, including testing and verification.
I apologize for the poorly worded question there that was open. So can you tell us a little bit of like how it works? Is this on a radio frequency and how it transmits back and forth?
Sure. These are communicate by radio frequency. One of the reasons this vendor was selected was because this is on a licensed radio frequency. These are very safe units. They transmit less radio frequency than a cell phone. But there would be radio communication to different locations, whether that's City Hall directly or remote sites, and that information then is transmitted to a location like City Hall or wherever we have that central location. And that information becomes available to our billing office, our staff in the field, and our customers. It'll be live data. Typically, it'll give warnings. So the communications does occur typically once a month when it's read, but can occur when communication occurs, such as if I were the customer and I logged on the app and I checked, I would get accurate, up-to-date information.
Okay, great. And all this information, data is held locally, correct? We hold all the data locally. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yes, when the team went through the selection process, security of all this was a top priority along with the customer service. So there were over 700 items evaluated in the process to make the recommendation, including security of the software, of data, and the system. So security is a huge issue related to this.
Speaking of that security, it's not necessarily needed to have a firewall system because it's kind of a closed circuit, right? All that is not vulnerable to somebody messing with that or being able to disrupt service. Am I correct in stating all that, or is?
David, do you want to address that question specifically?
Mayor?
Hi, welcome, David.
How are you, sir?
Thank you very much, sir. There is a firewall that your data person has organized. So Rich is in the process of dealing with that to give your residents access to the data that you need. But the system itself is a licensed system, so the data isn't something that is accessible to normal processes. But that data is traveling over a radio network, so it's encrypted, and there's a high level of security that's being developed, is being devoted to making sure that data isn't available to people.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Last question. Are we keeping all of our employees in this department, Floyd, or are we shifting some of these employees around that we're reading meters, now we're doing digitally? Do we have any change there?
Good question. Yeah, we will be keeping all employees through a process of attrition and reallocation of resources. Those employees will wind up ultimately in other positions, whether that's maintenance of this system, customer service positions, or any other position that they choose, or through attrition when it's open, that position's moved to another department within the utilities. It's fund related, so it's going to stay in the utilities division. So there'll be multiple places where those employees go over time. Over that period of time, they will be taken care of and put into similar type positions, or when it's empty, that position will be moved. So there is no plan to reduce employees.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
I'll just make a comment. I think it's real interesting, especially sitting in this position for 5 years now. And I think, didn't we jump into the middle of this like in 2018? So, I mean, here we are sitting a full 3 years later, and by the time it's finished, you add another almost 3 years to that. It takes almost 6 years to make something like this actually come to life. I guess one question that I have is going to be, so 2018, I think I had a event at my office, and they could not, we never did find out where the water went. So the only thing that we could figure out was somebody hooked a hose up to it and filled a tanker truck up or something. And so because of that, they put in, I've got digitally read at this point in time. So is it basically the same kind of device?
It's the same kind of concept. You want me to?
We can hear you, but people that are watching at home can only hear you if you're talking through the microphone. So thank you for the effort to come back to the podium.
You bet. Happy to do it. Council member, it is a similar device. The resolution or the frequency of measurements might be a little bit different than what yours is, but it would allow you as a homeowner to be able to look at your own use and determine, timing of when it happens. For me and my family, I've got recently graduated from high school and in college students. And so usually it's when my love and I travel and all of them are home, suddenly the use of water multiplies.
Yeah.
So, and I can tell when it's happening, what hours, there's a lot more activity at the house. And that's the kind of thing that I think it allows you as a business owner to do at your property. If somebody's coming to connect a hose to your property, or if it was your home.
We had a couple of incidents at our home earlier.
If you go out of town for the weekend and Spicoli shows up and they're having a party at your house, you're going to know on your meter.
You're going to know it. I can look right now, and this very system actually is at our home, and I can look on it and see activity going on in the home.
Yeah, and I think also one of the things that was happening was there was a question of the age of the valve and it being analog and whether it was accurate or not. And by switching to digital, that you're going to pay for exactly what goes through. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that ability so that no longer becomes an issue at all. So, okay, so that answers my question.
Okay,
so thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Dave. I know Eddie made the point, this is something we've been working on for years, so I appreciate the coming back around to some of the basic questions about it, Cole, because that's definitely been, we've talked and hashed and rehashed, and one of the questions that came up a lot at the beginning was, if we spend this money now, and we know technology is just going to improve, how are we going to not be behind again? And I think the team has done a good job of addressing that question, too.
Yes, a lot of that's in that component of those yearly annual upgrades, making sure that we stay current. But also at the end of the life of this program, they'll have the ability to utilize the same resources to upgrade and change the meters or programs to whatever is needed at year 20.
So that's what I think, as taxpayers, we always want to know, okay, we're spending this money, but is it sustainable? And I appreciate the work staff's done to answer that, too. Okay, any other questions? If not, I think we need a motion on this item.
Okay, Mayor, I move to award the Advanced Metering Infrastructure contract to Thurkettle Corporation doing business as Utiliuse in the amount of $27,024,744.76 for the installation of smart meters throughout the city of Amarillo, to be funded through previously issued bond proceeds from a 0% interest loan and a grant, both provided by the Texas Water Development Board.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Councilmember Sauer to approve this award as mentioned in item 3C. Any further discussion or questions from the council? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes with the 4-0 vote. And at this time, we've moved to the portion of our agenda that would involve executive session. So we're going to take a 10-minute recess to go to the restroom, and then we will meet in council chambers to discuss. We only have one item on our executive session agenda. Thank you.
Pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, a closed session of the Amarillo City Council was announced at 2:28 p.m. on October 26, 2021, under the section 551.071 consultant attorney on a matter in which attorney's duty to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct conflicts with this chapter.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney.